of the time that it usually takes to get a haircut. And I just, I'm torn now. Do I go back to the hairdresser and tell them that I've cheated? Because he's going to know that I went somewhere else for the in-between haircut.
Oh, no, of course. Like, I mean, he'll pick it up immediately.
Yeah, so do I go back to him and just like lay it all out on the table and say to him, listen, I'm sorry I cheated on you? Or do I keep going to the barber who's quicker and more efficient? Maybe not as intricate and skilled with his hands. In fact, certainly not as good as the actual hairdresser. But, competent. And like, what do I really need? I don't have fancy hair that needs to be styled in a certain way. I just need it to be short enough to, put my hands through in the morning and sort it out.
Yeah.
And
what do I do?
Short enough so that you can't make a pigtail.
Yeah, no, I'll never be able to make it. Why are there still guys who are running around with, like, guys in their 50s and 60s? Why are they still running around and walking around with a ponytail? Why do they do that? Why do men need a ponytail? Someone needs to explain this to me. I've never got it. Tell me.
Because they've started to bald and they're literally hanging on to whatever hair they have left.
So there is even worse when you have a guy with a bald top but with a ponytail.
There's a YouTube channel, and I'm sorry, usually I know my YouTube channel names. You know me. But yes. There's a YouTube channel, and I forget the name, about men who take the plunge. It's got the word bald in it, and shave off their hair. And you can see that most of the people who are on this channel or featured on the channel are guys that are balding but are still hanging on to the rest of their hair. And the difference once they've shaved it off completely is amazing. They look so much better than having this low ponytail of nothingness.
I agree. I mean, I reckon also, like, I've said it a million times. If I go bald, I'm in big trouble, because my hair is one of the few things that's saving me at the moment. Like, if I go bald, I'm fucked. I'm out of business. Done.
I'm trying to even think, but I'm struggling to come up with even one famous person who's middle-aged and has long hair as a guy and looks good. I don't think anyone can really pull off having long hair as a guy at that age and looks good.
Well,
I get if you're still like young and sort of hipstery, and there maybe might be that rebellion of, well, school said I should cut my hair short and now I'm growing it out. But yeah, there's no one who's older who looks good with long hair.
Oh, about Ozzy Osbourne. He looks good with long hair, doesn't he?
Okay.
Great. Oh, yeah, he's fucking great with his long hair.
That's cotton candy. Cotton candy, that is.
Yeah, that's quite.
I remember my aunt dated a hairdresser, and this guy had long, thick, luscious brown hair, and it was kind of halfway down his back and cut very bluntly. And I mean, that was a lot of hair, and it was absolutely beautiful. Hey, you know what? My biological father actually had long hair all the way down his back.
Well, you see, you can't. I don't think it's fair to say all men should have short hair. I mean, Sia's such a Nazi about this stuff, clearly, because he can't think of one person. But I'm sure there are lots of guys. There are lots of guys who look better with longer hair than short. My problem isn't the length of the hair; it's the ponytail thing. It's what Leigh-Ann was saying about how you're starting to go bald, like here and here, but you let that little ponytail grow so that you can still say you have some hair. It's weird. I have told you before on the show about this guy who used to lecture us in French at university. And he had maybe 3 or 4 little strands of hair that he would assemble on his head very expertly. I mean, it must have taken him hours, because he made those 4 or 5 strands of hair work really hard to try and cover the top. And then all it took at work at Varsity in the day is like one gust of wind and it would screw up all his best laid plans. And then, the whole thing would kind of,
style.
yeah, the whole thing would kind of just wave like this in the air. And it was a disaster. Shame, poor guy. I wonder if he's still alive.
Oh, rest in peace. Or
yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, just suddenly thought it's the first time I've spoken about him in a while. Yes, yeah?
Does Johnny Depp count as middle-aged yet?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, he sometimes has long hair.
And he looks good. I mean, he's one of the best-looking men in the world, according to most of these magazines and women.
Mm-hmm.
Steven Seagal, the action star, doesn't look good though with long hair.
No, but I can't imagine Steven. I can't imagine Steven Seagal with short hair. I think it would be weird.
Yeah, no, I think he carries it off.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't. Okay, well, Gareth, what are you warming up to do? With regards to your barber and hair salon issue?
Listen, they both do a great job. The hairdresser is obviously much more skilled, and I trust his expert advice on all kinds of things. So he knows hair. Like, he's taught me amazing things about how how curly some people's hair is. Because my hair looks straight, right? But it actually, the longer it gets, the more wavy it gets, the longer it is. And he explained to me how that works, and he knows where to cut off more and where to cut off less. But it's a process, and I've probably been going to him now for about 5 or 6 years. And I
say stick with the hairdresser.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that. And then he's going to be cross with me, but I was just, it's like if you have to have a fight with your wife, you man up and you're like, all right.
Lockdown has excused all. I mean, I haven't been to my hairdresser, and this is why I have this stupidly long hair at the moment. It's the longest it's been in my life.
Oh, really?
Just because my hairdresser's far away, and it's been, sometimes they've been closed, and also because I don't know, I've just become lazy about it. But I know that if I had to chop off my own hair or go to someone else, she would completely understand because of COVID. Just blame it on COVID.
Chop it off. Yeah.
Blame everything on COVID.
I think I'll blame it on COVID.
This happened to me towards the end of last year. And I remember I spoke about it, going to this fancy, well, they're not super fancy, but to go to this barber who I'm not used to going to when I was here in Durban, actually, and how particular they are about certain things, and they do a lot of varied treatments for men, like with the dyeing of the hair, and they can fill in gaps with dye so that men get like that very tailored look, slick look and whatnot. And ever since I went to them, I haven't been back to my normal barber, even while I was in Johannesburg. And so what sort of was a great perk for me was the fact that I know I can go to any one of their franchises around the country, but so far I've been to Johannesburg and Durban, and I know I'll get the same consistent service there, as opposed to always just waiting for my barber just for the sake of loyalty. And when I think about it, I still don't know his name. He still doesn't know my name, so I don't really feel guilty, because it was always just a nod. He says, sit down. I sit down. He gets started, and then 25 minutes later, I'm out of there. So that's the basis of our relationship.
Yeah, I wonder if there are people who have actually had their hairdresser phone them and say, "Hey, where have you gone? You used to come to me." That would be terrifying. I wouldn't know what to do with that call that came through. I'd be like, Jesus, just give me a chance to think of an excuse.
I'll phone you.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It is the end of a short week, and I know this is so super annoying, but you're going to have to get used to a 5-day week next week and the week after. And then we've got that nice little public holiday Tuesday. And then, unfortunately for many people, someone pointed this out yesterday, the 1st of May is a Saturday, so you don't get the bonus. Saturday public holiday.
So wait, next Tuesday is a public holiday?
No. It's 2 weeks of normal weeks, and then there's a 27 April, Freedom Day.
Oh, that's right.
That one you can have off.
Oh well.
Yes.
With it now.
Sorry,
Yeah.
what did you say, Sia? We lost you there.
Said we can live with it now, as if we even
I think
have
so.
a choice. We have to live with it.
Well, here's a compliment for you, Sia, to start the day on your Friday and your weekend. Sia's skin is looking particularly nourished. Very nice. Very good point.
Thank you, but I think it's the light setting here because I'm looking a little oily. Actually, I think I was like trying to figure something out.
Can't you just take the compliment? We don't have to have a 5-minute discussion about your particular skincare situation
Gareth.
for the morning.
No, we
No,
can't.
because you've asked the question. Now, welcome to the inner workings of my brain and what I have to go through.
No,
I think this light.
nobody asked the question. I'll put up Andre's comment again. Where's a question? Show me the question.
Andre, noted.
Just say thanks. You know what you do when someone says something nice to you? Say thanks. That's all.
Can't say thanks because I can't accept fully what he's saying because I am going through quite a lot right now. I'm exhausted just going through this.
Boubacar, I love this. Boubacar Bald says, I have an afro. Sue me. Fucking afro is someone's. You know, afro. So I don't know if you've noticed, but like Trevor Noah has like let his hair grow out, and he's it just. I think it looks very cool. I mean, you know, if you can, like, if you have the ability to grow that out, and there's this dude I've been watching on YouTube. He's a regular guest on a number of UK programs. See, I sent you his Twitter bio yesterday to try and get him for our show, our TV show. A guy called Kelvin Robertson. And he's also mixed race. Again? He's like a political commentator and a writer, and he's very smart, like super intelligent guy. And the irony is that he really hates like when people bring up his race as a talking point, because he says, I'm an individual, don't judge me by my race. But he's got one of the coolest afros I've seen. You know, because afros did go out of fashion for a while. There was a point somewhere after the 70s where they became very uncool. And then suddenly they've come back. They've come back into
fashion. A lot
of
people stopped wearing them. Yeah, but it's like if you look at The Weeknd now.
Yeah, right.
Can I ask a question about The Weeknd? It's been on my mind.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you guys.
There's no better time than now. Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys have spoken about it before, but you saw his whole plastic surgery thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Is it real, or was it just for the one show, the music video?
It's
I don't know.
Part of this new look with this new album that he's doing, and I think so far he's released like 3 music videos alongside this new album, and in the one he's driving a car, then gets into an accident. In the other music video, he's all bandaged up. And then in the third music video, he has like this plastic surgery look. So in an artistic way.
I actually don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not used to you on this one, but I have seen that filter that a lot of girls are suddenly playing with on Instagram and Facebook. The plastic surgery. That. Yes. Yeah, but that plastic surgery filter is a frightening thing.
It is hilarious. I've actually saved it.
I went on because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know it was a filter. I went on and like one of my friends, she suddenly posted a picture of herself, and I was like, oh my God, what has she done? This is such a disaster. What on earth is going on here? Because it looked really bad. You know, the big Botox lips and the like cheeks that are pinched out here and fillers all over the place. It just looked horrible, and it actually frightened the hell out of me. So it took me a while, and then I realized like other girls were doing it too, and then eventually I clicked, oh, okay, it must be some filter. But man, is it frightening. You did it right, Sia. Of course you have.
I think it's called I'm trying to specifically find, like, it's called butt face or something. Oh no, sorry, pillow face. It's called pillow face.
Butt face.
Just gorgeous.
Have you done yours? Please show us
I
yours.
can-
All right, I want to see Sia's
let me-
butt face. We're going to call it butt face, even though it isn't that.
All right, I'll take it during the 5 things and I'll send it.
All right,
I'll send
all
it
right,
to you.
good stuff. Well, we've got to get to the 5
but-
things, which are coming up in a moment. I've also got to. I've got a list of things I've got to get through this morning. I keep making lists, and we have to get some feedback from a whole lot of people who are telling us about interesting things like the Karoo. Apparently, there's a video. Yeah, because we were speaking about the Karoo on Tuesday, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so someone, Paddy, sent us an email about that. And Bulelani Balabala will join us in a while. He is, of course, an old friend and family member of the cliffcentral.com family. Bulelani used to have a show called the entrepreneur. I know 360 Biz, which he did with Tebogo, right? But his own business is called TEA, and it's called the Township Entrepreneurs Alliance. And I want to find out how that's been going. Bulelani Balabala. It does sound like he should be a famous man, right?
Yeah, it's very rhythmical.
It's beautiful.
Ooh, rhythmical.
All right, so let's get to the 5 things you need to know this morning. The headlines that matter, the stories that are going on in the news, stuff that people might ask you if you bump into them through the course of the day. And you know how people are. What do you think of? Do you get that, Leigh-Ann? Do you get that, Sia, where people go, what do you think of this? And you go, oh, shit, I don't know. Well,
at this point, you don't get a lot of that. Yeah, I was going to say, you don't get a lot of that water cooler conversation at the office if you aren't going to the office.
No, the water coolers are all taped off with "Do not drink" signs at the moment.
By the way, I noticed the gyms don't even let you use those water fountains.
Yeah,
I've probably been twice since they opened them up again, and I didn't enjoy either experience. So I'm gonna wait a while before I get back to the gym. But I noticed you can't even drink water; you have to take your own, which probably is a good idea anyway. I think that's probably a more sensible thing to do is take your own water rather than rely. I don't think that's.
Did a lot of people actually trust that whole water fountain drinking situation?
Oh, please, Sia. What did we do at school? Do you remember at school? Those things were all over the school, and you drink from them. You wouldn't care.
No, I didn't trust those things because growing up in Durban, there were always monkeys around, and the monkeys would often perch on that thing. So I don't want
rub their bums on the spots.
Yeah, I don't want a monkey's diddle daddle all over my water. Thank you very much.
All right, Penny Sparrow. Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
No, the animal ones.
Listen, I don't even know what to say when I see like monkeys. And you're right, they're all over Durban. But like, if you even see monkeys, I'm just even scared to say the word monkey in case someone somewhere, someone misinterprets. It's like ridiculous. And it's all because I suppose we're all super, super sensitive that everything has 2 or 3 or 4 meanings now. And
I'd say that line. I don't give babies any pet names anymore. Heck,
I know.
don't even ask. Yeah, heck, I don't even ask, what are you having? Are you having a boy or a girl? I'm like, oh, congratulations.
Because you don't know. Like you say congratulations on is a little boy, and they're like, no, we're going to allow the child to determine its own gender, and we're not going to label it before it's able to make its own decision.
I even met a hermaphrodite cat the other day.
You use that term.
I don't know if I'm supposed to use the term. Yeah, I should know, especially with my cousin dealing with operations like that. But yes, I met Simba. Now I had a little kitten called Simba, but I found out because it's difficult to tell the sex of a kitten when they're small, right? And Simba turned out to be a female, so I called her Saffron instead. But I met Simba the cat the other day, who lives across the road from me. And Simba went to the vet to be neutered. So in other words, to have his little ballaches snipped. Right. And then there were some other complications. Simba had some x-rays. Turned out Simba had ovaries as well, and had to go back and be spayed.
Wow. So Simba was a prop. I mean, nature occasionally kicks out these people who, unfortunately or fortunately, have both. And the word is hermaphrodite. It's a medical term, a biological term. No, you see, they have to accept that for themselves. And animals obviously can't tell you what their gender is. So it gets very complicated.
Well, they actually can, because Simba identifies as a male. So his pronouns are him, his, and
him and his. Yeah, him and his. That's all you need.
Maybe just him and his.
Because I was going to ask.
Simba identifies as a guy.
Because he acts in a different way around boy cats and girl cats.
But is that a gender? Is that a gender thing or a sexuality thing? You see, this is where Leigh-Ann. Mm-hmm.
Well, it can't be.
If we were woke, we would be so incensed by everything that you've said in the last 5 minutes. You are so old school and so non-progressive and bigoted, and like Sia and I would be shaking our heads like this, and we would be screaming, and we'd be dyeing our hair purple, and we'd be having a tantrum and going "Ree!" That's what we'd be doing, because woke people do that when they hear stuff.
Don't say dye your hair purple, because I just thought of someone who I will not mention that we all know. I will refer to them as Simba/Saffron.
And you will use the pronouns them and they.
Yes.
Okay.
Leigh-Ann.
Well, you don't even know Simba. I'm gonna ask Leigh-Ann to make that decision for herself. All right, we've got to move on. Let's get some headlines underway here.
Yes.
We could mess around all morning, but we have some serious business to take care of. Norma Ngoma is going to testify at the State Capture Commission on Friday. Now, this is exciting. Why? Just because it's a bit of gossip and drama. She may have some information that we don't know about, but it's all really kind of sordid, because the only reason that she's doing this is to get back at her ex-husband. She can't stand him anymore. Of course, he is the former minister, Malusi Gigaba, and she is going to tell all in an explosive day at the State Capture Commission. She doesn't care if it's made public. Gigaba says he doesn't want her testimony made public. So the lawyer, Melusi Kulu, has explained that who will have the final say on whether Ngoma's testimony is muzzled or not. She was arrested last year for allegedly trashing a car, and the charges were dropped. So we'll have to wait and see if everybody gets to, watch this as it unfolds in real time. But that's probably exciting to a lot of people, the same way, soap opera is exciting. It doesn't necessarily mean more or less. It's just because she was the wife and she's going to spill the beans. She's got nothing to hide. She's bringing it all. Carl Niehaus, that not serious person, Carl Niehaus, has denied claims that the radical economic transformation forces are trying to divide the ANC. Now, I don't know how these guys became the radical economic transformation people. I suppose that's the best term they can use to describe themselves. But it's becoming a dwindling and disastrous campaign on that side of the ANC. They're obviously just the state capture people, really. They're what's left over of Zuma's ugly regime. They are the Ace Magashule team, and they've got Carl Niehaus, spokesperson for them. I mean, what a disastrous person Carl Niehaus is. If you had to throw all the crappy characteristics of the ANC into a blender and switch it on and blend it into a lumpy sauce of meat and bread and rotten stuff, and you had to pour that into a pan and try to cook it into something it'd be like polony mixed with spam it would be gross. That would be Carl Niehaus. He's just he's the real dregs of the ANC, and he's the only guy who's out there willing to talk, because he doesn't realize how stupid he sounds. He has no governor on his brain, no filter at all. So he says they are not part of a faction, and they're not trying to divide the party. He also works in the Secretary General's office. No surprise there. He's been linked to the so-called RET forces. He insists that they are merely seeking to support the ANC's own policy on economic transformation in the country. His comments follow Northern Cape chairperson Zamani Saul's Eyewitness News opinion piece, warning that it was a precursor to a new party. Saul said the formation was to execute a spirited pushback strategy against the ANC's attempts to renew itself. The Northern Cape chair's views have been echoed by several senior ANC members, including Joel Netshitenze and the ANC in the Eastern Cape. But Niehaus continued to deny this, claiming there was a deliberate attempt to frame the promotion of this ANC policy as a faction. Well, I can't believe anyone's listening to Carl Niehaus. That's all I'm going to say. While we're on the ANC and the dissent and the division in the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, who's looking ever more like a grandma. I can't tell you, like, there's something going on there. That guy, he looks like a retired Motown singer from the 70s. He really does. The glasses don't help. The face is getting puffy in certain places. There's this kind of gray edge to the hair happening. You know, he's just not looking his best. I think he needs to go to that barber you were talking about, Sia, in Durban, because they might be able to tidy him up a bit.
I'm going to try and find this video. I think someone posted it as a story as opposed to it coming straight from his own social media accounts. But he had a birthday dinner recently, and he was trying to blow out what was meant to be a candle, but it's rather one of those thick, large sparklers. So it's a firecracker. And he was not getting it, and it was just the look. He looks like a caricature of what we formerly knew as.
But hang on, minister. I mean, you can't blow those things out anyway.
That's the thing.
Someone should have told him, like, dude, you can't blow it out. Just let it do its thing. It's like a firework. It's not a candle.
I don't know.
That's like asking to look like a moron. He's just weird. Let me tell you the story, and then we'll get back to this. So he says dissent in the ANC is not division. You know, he's trying to look like the unifying guy. He says, standing firm in support of the ANC's step-aside decision, the party Secretary General Ace Magashule was given 30 days to step aside as he faces corruption charges. He is now publicly saying the ANC's top leadership is divided. But Fikile says that's not true. And he was out on the media trail yesterday. He was busy giving us the Easter Road fatalities. And again, those numbers are just horrific. It's become like a thing that we do after Easter as we count the number of dead.
Always, though, since we were kids.
It's such a macabre thing. I don't understand it, but clearly it's such an unhappy situation, and we just have never in all of my recollection of Easter Road death tolls, we've never really had a good story. It's always just horrendous and carnage. There's always some terrible accident where like 15 people get killed. And so when I see them coming onto TV, these ministers or the transport department or whoever it is from, you know, the Metro Police, I always go, oh, this is just such an ugly story. I can't stand it. It's very depressing. So that's why Fikile was on TV, and then he just threw in that the ANC is not divided, it's just dissenting. George Floyd died from a lack of oxygen, not fentanyl, says an expert. This is part of the prosecution's case. George Floyd, according to them, and according to the Dr. Martin Tobin, said fentanyl did not cause Mr. Floyd's death. He said even a healthy person would have died. Mr. Chauvin, 45, was filmed kneeling on Mr. Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes during his arrest last May. The ex-officer is on trial for murder and has denied the charges against him. The footage of Mr. Chauvin, who is white with his knee on African-American Mr. Floyd, who is black's neck, sparked global protests against racism. The trial is in its second week and is expected to last for at least 1 month. The defense is due to begin arguing its case in court next week. So we'll see what happens there, but that was the expert from yesterday. Ex-Secretary of State Pompeo is going to join Fox News as a contributor. This seems to happen on both the left and the right in America. If you know, George Stephanopoulos, who used to work for the Clinton campaign. In fact, I think he was the Clinton campaign chief advisor when Bill Clinton, and I think during Hillary's first run, he was there. And now he's like the news host on ABC. So it happens. And now Mike Pompeo, who was Donald Trump.
I thought journalists were supposed to be neutral.
Well, those days are long gone, Leigh-Ann. Those days are figment of your imagination. Donald Trump's top diplomat, Mike Pompeo, has been hired to appear on Fox News as a contributor, the conservative cable channel said on Thursday. I intend to give viewers a candid, no-nonsense look at geopolitics, international relations, and the media, and the America First policies, rather, that helped chart the course for an unprecedented prosperity and security in America. The former Secretary of State and member of Congress said in a statement released by Fox. So that's big ratings news for Fox, obviously. They are going to be bringing him on board. And he, of course, made headlines when he talked about the origins of the COVID-19 virus in China. And he said it's all a sham. It's part of a disinformation campaign from the World Health Organization and the Chinese Communist Party. But we know that. I think anyone with brains has started to figure out that the Chinese, to them, it's more about their reputation than about the truth.
Yeah, very much so.
Here's something from Thurance Cameron, who says, did you see the article regarding Ayanda Dlodlo saying that South Africans living in other countries like Cape Town must move to South Africa? No, I did not, but I'm not surprised. Ayanda Dlodlo, by the way, is our intelligence minister. Right. So remember we had that guy Bongo as intelligence minister. It seems that we keep choosing the least obviously intelligent. They may have hidden intelligence that we don't know about. But we seem to choose very obviously unintelligent people who say obviously unintelligent things as ministers of intelligence, which is so embarrassing because then your title contradicts the way your brain works. It's very sad.
And then before Bongo, was it Siyabonga Cwele?
Yeah, who basically had no idea, even though he lived with his wife, that she was a massive, massive drug dealer. Massive.
No intelligence there.
Well, certainly no intelligence gathering capabilities. I mean, your own wife, you sleep in the same bed as her, and you have no idea that she is the biggest drug pusher in the country. Unbelievable. So yeah, we have some real pearlers in the Department of Intelligence. I like Carl Niehaus. If I got a Carl Niehaus in Knee house action doll, I would chop its head off and piss on it, says Andre. Well, that's very nice, Andre. You were very nice about Sia's skin this morning, but not so nice about Carl Niehaus. And then Rickus has brought up something that really upset me. There's a video, and I'm not even going to show it on the show this morning because it really upsets me. It's a video of a giant lizard. It's a monitor lizard. It's what we would call a ligavan in South Africa.
Or a fucking crocodile.
It's a big lizard. This thing's probably 5 feet long from tail to
heavy and thick.
And these things, I've told you before, these are the scariest things in the world. So a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook and even on WhatsApp are sending me this because they know I'm terrified of these things. And
don't you hate that though? Once you're terrified of something, people send them to you.
Yeah. No, it's this video of this giant monitor lizard, and it's walking through the shop, and then it climbs up the shelves of this shop, and it's swinging its tail around, and it's got that tongue that comes out the whole time, and it's
pulling down boxes of products as it's clawing its way out.
It's just the most horrible creature. Horrible.
Shame. I actually felt really sorry for him. He was literally cornered and he was scared, and he was trying to get up into a place where he wasn't threatened. I know that, Gareth, I will not get your sympathy on that at all. But it is a terrifying clip. And the fact that people were hanging around still, and they were oohing and eyeing over it.
If I walked into a shop and I even saw one half that size,
say what you said. Say what you said on the one group.
I would levitate out of the shop. Right out, I would levitate. I would float like Jesus Christ on the Sea of Galilee out of that shop. I would be 3 feet high with my legs like in a cartoon going round and round and round, creating a gust of air under me like a hovercraft. But I would be shitting all the way out of the shop as well. I would be That is the most frightening animal. You could give me spiders, give me snakes, give me even a crocodile. But those lizards, I don't know what it is about them. There's something there that just is deeply, deeply disturbing on some kind of primal level.
I think a lot of it's got to do with the fact that it could probably keep up with you if you had to run. Sorry.
So
as a person who has a phobia, I feel for you.
Oh, I hate them so much.
This lizard in particular is 1.8 meters long, and according to USA Today, the lizard had emerged from a nearby canal and decided to pop to the shops ever so casually, looking for some food. But after that whole incident and the recording and whatnot, animal control in Thailand, where the incident took place, tranquilized the monitor lizard and returned it safely to the wild.
Oh, so it hasn't been killed. Okay, I'm kind of happy about that. I mean, I don't want them killed, but I just if they stay away from me, I will be happy for them that they haven't been killed. That's all.
So partly this is why I also have never understood people who like, maybe it's because leather is something that looks a little foreign to the actual animal, but people who like snake skin stuff, or people who like crocodile skin handbags, why do you want the look of that scaliness and the feel of that around you?
Oh, it can be very beautiful. I mean, they fashion crocodile skin into beautiful things, like little purses and wallets and handbags.
It still looks like the actual skin.
Yeah, you see, my gran had a huge phobia of snakes, and she was heavily Christian as well, which didn't help things because the snake is the devil. But she couldn't imagine having even a snakeskin purse in her house or anywhere near her. So yeah, I get you on that.
Jared says, I've just watched the video. Goodness, that is horrifying. Makes me glad that I live in Canada. The worst thing we get in our shops is a deer. But you guys get meese.
Which is two mooses.
you get mooses. And those things are huge. Have you seen what a moose's mouth looks like? It's like a hangy.
It's like a horse's mouth, where it's quite lippy and
it's much more
wobbly
floppy than that. And they're big. Hey, a moose is a big thing. So I've got this friend who lives in the Free State, and she went to visit friends of hers in Canada, and she said, "Nee, ek is baie bang for a moose." she says because they're really big. And they can be quite aggressive. Hey, I mean, if you're driving on the highway in Canada and a moose comes out of the woods and stands in the middle of the road, you will come off second best, even if you're in a big truck. Like a moose it's a huge animal.
That sound that they make as well, which is quite haunting. No, that it's a high pitched wee.
Oh my god!
They squeal.
Yeah.
See if I can find a moose sound.
I just caught the attention of all of the cats in the house.
What is happening here?
Here's a moose sound, all right? This is what a moose sounds like, according to my sources. Let me just make it clear. Here it is.
I feel like it's going to give me a fright.
Oh, man, this is quite some suspense.
No, try moose squeal.
It's almost like it's trying to clear its throat.
We couldn't hear it on our side.
No.
A moose squeal. You couldn't hear it?
No.
Sorry. Okay, let me try this.
I thought it was still loading or something.
I think what you're thinking of, Leigh-Ann, is an elk. An elk makes a really scary noise.
Well, one of those.
You know, Gareth, pigtail, ponytail, you know.
Sorry if it is an elk.
Yeah, it's an elk. It's not a moose. So what you're thinking of is
so stupid.
An elk. Brackets, miss brackets. All right. Anyway, how did we get onto meese? Jared. It was Jared's fault. We were talking about mooses because Jared
monitor lizards and meese.
Yeah.
Jeez, we've gone far.
We've jumped right into this. So bad news, and I've just found out from Ellen Dooley this morning, DMX died. So I think if again we just fact check that because you never know. Sometimes there's different sources.
We knew he was in hospital.
I'm very sad about
R.I.P. DMX is a top trending hashtag right now.
It's still not an indication, but yeah.
No. Well, I'm sad about that because, like I said, big fan. In fact, if you give me like a minute, I'll go and get my DMX albums because obviously everything is alphabetically ordered in my CD collection.
Oh, of course.
Do you want me to go and get them? Do you want me to get them? Give me a minute. Yeah. Talk among yourselves. Give me a minute.
I will. Yeah, I don't know if you can highlight the comment by B's GTA Online, who says, "My friend's mum is so scared of snakes, she buys the U magazine, and if there's a picture of a snake in the mag, she'll tear that page out." I completely agree. My issue is with spiders, and how many times I'm scrolling through YouTube or some kind of news feed, and then the worst is you actually have to touch the screen to move it up.
Why am I itchy all of a sudden with this conversation?
Yeah.
So here's the one.
Okay.
That's flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood.
Is he covered in blood?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And on the back
got
cover,
a good body.
on the back. Well, this is back in the day. I mean, so I can't find all of them because I know I've got about 5, but I could only find this one. This CD was put out in 1998. So,
Jeepers.
and then there's, of course, the famous single Party Up, which everybody knows. But shame, I'm sad about that, There's DMX.
Gosh, wait. Let's pause a little. Revolt, which is P. Diddy's website or platform, an hour ago said DMX is not dead.
You see.
Pitchfork, another prominent entertainment and website, says DMX still alive and on life support. Manager says amid death rumors. That was also an hour ago.
Well, our own Simpiwe says DMX is still alive, and I trust her more than those sources you just mentioned.
Well, I would assume like DMX is in the Diddy is
Oxy
in the
Head says that according to TMZ, he's still kicking. So, all right.
TMZ and DMX.
Right.
I'm sure we can get in touch with one of the 15 children right now. So let's ask them.
Yeah, I'm sure one of them is listening to us. There's so many kids that at least one has got to be listening to us.
Sorry, it's the idea of that many kids, man. Woo-wee. How many people are in a soccer team? 11, right?
Yeah.
They could make their own soccer team. Oh my
Slice 19 says you guys haven't seen the video of the Komodo dragon eating a monkey whole in 6 gulps.
Oh,
yes, I know.
I just got goosebumps.
Those things are truly the most terrifying living creatures that there are. If you put me in a place where there was a 1% chance I would encounter a Komodo dragon, I would be living in the trees. I have to
remind you that when I was in Hazy View, where I go every year, the 1 year I was walking on a road with my mom and our friend. We were walking 3 abreast, and I was the one closest to the veld on the side. And I heard this whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And I looked, and it was this monitor lizard, but like the one in the picture. It was huge, and I couldn't remember the name. But I ran into the middle of the road into oncoming traffic and screamed, "There's a fucking crocodile!" I would rather be hit by a car on a solid line on a hill than be touched by the fucking crocodile.
Oh, this is interesting. Since they've messaged us more than once. Oxy Head says we don't pronounce the Y Well, I mean, what a crazy name.
Oh.
You can't expect us to know how to say your name, Orksy Head. So apparently
So
the
it's just
YSI,
orcs.
it's Orks Head. Okay.
Like totes orcs.
No, totes Orks.
Orcs cable.
Right. Yeah. All right. It is Friday.
I did take a selfie with pillow face.
Good. All right, here it is. Here's butt face.
But hold on. Are you saying pillow, like the thing you sleep on?
Yes.
Because I searched for the app and I can't find it. I'm annoyed now.
It's a your filter on Instagram.
Okay.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's like a before and after.
Please don't ever. No.
You don't hate it.
No. No. Do not.
Plastic surgery. No, see, I don't do it.
It's made the distance between your eyebrows bigger and kind of flat.
Fabulous.
No.
That's the word you're looking for. It makes it fabulous.
No, I don't like that.
Have some fun. Look for that filter on Instagram.
It's fun. Horrible. So it is Friday. It's the weekend. And
the lizard.
No, so I am thinking about the lizard. But just quickly before we break for the 7:00 podcast, a bunch of my friends are, and I mean these are cool people. We always do fun things like go for dinners and have parties and all the rest together. They are now into, since lockdown happened, hiking. So the one guy sent out this invitation earlier this week to say, we're all going on a hike this weekend. Who wants to come? And obviously I said no straight away. And
why? Obviously.
Because why would I do that? It's just what a thing to spend your time doing, hiking around. And apparently these hikes are hugely popular. People just love them there. It's overrun. It's overrun with people. You're like on the trail with 500 or 600 or 1,000 other people. And
you're not hating the concept of hiking. You're hating the fact that it's popular. That's all.
And then he hates the fact that it means he would be part of a group,
a team,
or a mob, a team, as opposed to this is something that he wants to do.
Definitely.
Yes, we've
if you think about it,
you.
All right, you guys figure it out.
Walking in nature, taking in this fresh air, especially like now where it's a little bit crisp, and taking in the sights around you and the crunch of your feet on the sand or the rocks that you're climbing. That's all amazing, and you can't deny that. You just hate it that everyone's doing it. It's like when everyone became a cyclist and started shaving their legs and wearing Lycra.
No, I've always hated cyclists. Always, since the day I was born.
Yes, we know that.
Always.
But if there were just professional cyclists like there are professional tobogganists, you'd be fine with that. It's the fact that there's a mass group of people that do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but there's no such thing as a professional cyclist.
Of course there is. Don't say that to me when my dad's one.
There isn't. It's a hobby. It's a hobby. It's not a sport.
Gareth,
it's a hobby.
What the Lance Armstrong are you talking about?
It's a hobby. No. It's not a sport. Those people are... Bicycling is not a sport.
Gareth.
What is it?
It's just a hobby.
Don't rile me up. What's the time? It's 7:01. Time for a break.
You know how Leigh-Ann acted just with confusing pigtails and ponytails. So you don't want to go beyond that.
No. All right, there we go. That's all we got for this hour, but we'll be back in a couple of seconds with a whole lot more, including Bulelani Balabala, who Leigh-Ann says has got the best name in the world. And we'll also have George Meany a little bit later on, so it's going to be a nice busy day. As always, stick around, cliffcentral.com.
Finding quick solutions is key to a great economic quarter. Use the Nando's app to order a quarter chicken with any single side for only 49 Rand in just 20 seconds. Nando's. Fire it up. T's and C's apply.
you grunt when getting out of the car? Creak when getting out of bed? Do you walk into a room and forget why? Are you having trouble in the sack? Is the hump in a slump? Join me, Chris Haven-Smith, and Dr. Mark on the T-Health Show every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m, where we talk to medical and allied professionals about those serious and not so serious medical lifestyle issues. The T-Health Show, sponsored by the T-Clinic. The T-Health Show is available on podcasts. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
The world's apex predators have fearsome reputations, so it's hard to believe that some of them are facing a fight for survival.
In Gansbaai and Falsbaai, white sharks are almost completely disappeared.
Blind conservation is the story of these endangered predators. In our first episodes, we speak to global experts about the alarming plight of the great white shark.
Each shark that lives out there, one day out of 4 days, it can be killed.
And what you can do to help one of nature's most magnificent creatures survive for future generations. Join me, Spike Valentine, and my co-host, Anthony Mederer, for Blind Conservation, available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, indeed. cliffcentral.com on a Friday morning. We're talking about a whole lot of nonsense, including giant lizards, which scare the hell out of me. We're talking about haircuts, whether Leigh-Ann has a pigtail or a ponytail. We talked a bit about George Floyd. We talked about the ANC tearing itself apart. And we haven't even scratched the surface yet of what else we have to get to this morning. So there's a lot going on. I got a great picture from somebody on Instagram just now who's listening to the show. Natasha, she sent me this picture of a cyclist, and it says, "No thanks, just the middle of the fucking road for me. Thank you." Here it is. See that? Isn't that great? That's so true.
You're going to use that to justify how you feel about it?
It's just interesting that Natasha had that picture and that she's thinking the same way I am about things. Really? So, all right.
You've set a lot of people off. You do know that.
I know, and it's all right. Cyclists have always despised me, and I've always despised them. We know each other. We live with each other. Honesty.
Where do hikers fall in this ranking?
No, I don't really have a problem with hiking. It's just what you and Leigh-Ann said. It's probably just because people are doing it and it's popular that I'm not railing against it. So I got to sort that out. It's my psychological problem. That's what it is.
So you aren't even
cycling logical.
Yes,
correct.
You aren't going to reconsider. You aren't going to.
No, leave it there. I've just simmered down. Leave it.
All right. Here's a great email from Paddy. Paddy says, "This might interest all of you, especially Leigh-Ann. I've been listening to you guys from day one on Cliff Central, even before that on radio. Totally excited. I'm 58 and I've been living in the armpit, that's PE, for the last 20 years. Seriously, Gareth, you need to give PE a chance. It's a great place to live." Fine, fair enough. Back to my reason for writing. After 30 years of selling hydraulics and pneumatics, I love that word pneumatics because, it's got that P at the front, which is so scary for people. Is a pneumatic, and then they start with an N, and no, it starts with a P.
It's
pneumatics
like
and hydraulics, correct. To various factories and working for some pretty shitty companies in that time, I had the great fortune of being able to change careers. As from mid-April, my wife and I are moving to the Klein Karoo, in Oudtshoorn to be exact. And my job will be managing a beautiful wildlife ranch in the town. So from having to look out of the office into litter strewn into the streets of the industrial area of the armpit, I now look out onto beautiful lawns and ponds, trees, surrounded by lemurs, cheetahs, leopards, crocodiles, pygmy hippos, etc. That is some career change. From saving some cuck industrial press in a factory that pumps out some part for a car exhaust, I'll now be ensuring our grandchildren and their grandchildren will be able to see vultures, wild dogs, cheetahs, white tigers, sloths, etc. Hopefully in their natural habitat, but if that's not possible, in a beautiful surrounds that replicates their habitat. Hope you're a bit jealous sitting up in Johannesburg. Excuse me while I step out for some fresh Karoo air and the sound of a roaring lion. Paddy. So jealous. I really am. That sounds ideal, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember
doing something right in this thing called life.
Hold on, one at a time, children. Go, Leigh-Ann.
Yeah, it's me first. Do you remember the days when we actually had dreams and goals and wishes, and we knew what our future was going to be? When I was young, I always wanted to be a newsreader. Okay, so I got that right. Yes. And I used to have a girl crush on Gillian van Houten, who was, she had, see, you won't remember, don't even try. But she had this,
when a dog is confused and tilts their head, I just stop myself from doing that. I'm like,
She had this very stark, dyed black hair and was quite a harsh looking woman. But she married a wildlife guy. I don't know if he was a photographer or a ranger.
Quite a harsh-looking woman. My God!
Now I really want to see her.
No, I thought she was quite pretty. She was very pretty.
I thought so. You know where it comes from is my mom, because I liked her so much, and I said she was pretty. My mom said, "Oh no, she's very harsh-looking. You're much prettier." I think that's where it comes from. But she married this wildlife guy, and the two of them live in the bush and like have lions as pets.
Isn't it? Wasn't it John Varty?
Yes, that's right.
From Londolozi, yeah.
That's what I thought I was going to do with my life.
Okay. And of course, it's turned out pretty much the same. I mean, so you were a newsreader, and now you've got cats. And that's almost like being in the bush.
And I did live in the bush for a while.
No, you did for a little bit. All right, listen. I mean, I think that, Leigh-Ann, it sounds like you've given up on your dreams. Don't stop now, because you could still go. Look, this has just happened for Paddy at 58 years old. So you never know.
True.
Yeah.
Don't stop believing. Hold
Paddy,
on
thank you.
to that feeling.
Now,
Leigh-Ann,
one of the things...
Just a city girl.
Oh, stop it now, will you, with your songs? Sia's just looking for an excuse. He's looking for a it's just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. Anyway, if you're gonna bring on excuses to sing, Sia, then let them be right. So I found out something interesting yesterday. I've decided, first of all, to drink my tea from a proper teacup this morning. I'm not buggering around.
Show us again.
It's a very, very nice teacup. It's very, very ancient.
It's not a tea, it's not a mug, in other words.
No, it's not a mug. But look at the color of that tea. Oh, it's so nice. Wait, let me just lift it up a bit. I don't know if you can even see it. It's dark. It's really good. Let me just do this. There we go.
You know, those instant regret videos where someone's showing their newly baked lasagna to the camera and it slides off.
All over the laptop, and then we have a massive problem. So anyway, you'll see I'm adding the milk now after you've poured your tea. So I discovered something interesting yesterday.
What is it?
There's a documentary, a whole documentary, and it went on for an hour about the perfect cup of tea. Oh, yes. No, this is how you know you're old. This is how you know you're old. So apparently, a couple of things about tea. First of all, the reason that some people in England and other parts of the world where they drink tea, but let's just focus on the English because that's where tea became a fad. The reason some people put their milk in first is because these porcelain cups that they used to make, very thin porcelain, and if you poured the tea in first, sometimes they would crack because it was too hot. So that's why some people still continue to pour. But of course, that was for the poor, that was a problem. For rich people, they didn't give a shit, so they carried on pouring the tea first. and then adding the milk. And the reason you do that is because then you can see how strong your tea is.
Yeah.
And if you are drinking weak tea, I have no time for you. You must be an evil person from root to branch. You must have a diseased heart. You must be a vicious criminal, and all the bad things that humanity has ever decided to load onto any person, you must have, just because you have weak cat's piss tea and you add way too much milk. It's disgusting. It's inappropriate.
It was the bane of my mom's life. Because she had very strong tea. In other words, it had been steeped for a long time. And then only a dash of milk just to change the color slightly.
Right.
And my grandfather, on the other hand, you dip the tea bag in the water twice and then you fill half the cup with milk.
Listen, I drink the tea strong, a tiny little bit of milk, like virtually a drop or two of milk, just to make it opaque instead of clear. And by the way, there are some things that are really annoying if you're a tea fan. Since we're getting into the specifics of it, if you stir your tea and you make noises like this,
is that uncouth?
Disgusting. You don't make a sound with your tea spoon. You don't touch the sides of the teacup if you can possibly help it.
You mean to touch the bottom?
I consider myself a tea lover, and I cannot understand why someone pours milk into tea. Like, to me, that just ruins it.
Well, the real aficionados, and this is where I'll give you credit for being even more evolved than I am, is the real aficionados do not add milk. They will have specific kinds of tea, like Darjeeling tea or Earl Grey or one of those, and you don't add milk.
What about Joko?
No, well, I like Joko. I mean, this is Joko that I'm drinking now. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great.
What's the Joko slogan again? I know the Five Roses one. Nobody makes better tea than you and Five Roses.
You would have loved Wednesday's show with Gord. We were just going through old advertising jingles.
Love it.
I know that Joko are doing something really cool at the moment, and this is not a plug for them. They're not a paying client or anything, but I think they're doing. They give a certain percentage of their sales of their tea bags. It's one of the reasons.
To Joko
No, to Power, to people opposed to women abuse. And, I've supported them for a long time. So that's one of the reasons I like Joko. And I give them credit again. They make the round tea bags, which makes a whole lot more sense than those square ones.
Why and how?
Because a cup is round. It makes sense to put a round tea bag in a round cup.
Again, I'm not a tea bag person. I use loose tea in a
You have a strainer and a whatnot?
Really?
Yes. Well, no, it's a pot. Hold on. I'll get it for you.
All right.
See me walk into my kitchen.
This morning's show and tell continues. Gareth brought out his DMX CDs, and Leigh-Ann has a pot for tea that she's about to share with us. How nice. So here's something cute that's happening.
I don't know anyone who actually still uses an actual teapot.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my parents have this silver tea set with a strainer and everything, and they sometimes use that. It's a whole thing. Where's your pot, Leigh-Ann?
So this is my teapot.
Oh, nice. A glass one. You put the tea in the middle and you put the water in the outside part. No.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the tea got tiny little slits. And then I have loose teas, like this is one of them, for instance. This is Lapacho apple. Now, Lapacho is a tea from Argentina, which comes from the inner bark of a Lapacho tree.
Wow, look at you. Here I was thinking I watched the documentary, but you are a mountain of information this morning.
And all that's in here is real apple and Lapacho. And then, you pour that into the middle of the teacup, and then you fill it up with water. And so this is a fruit tea. You can put the water in at 100 degrees. So as soon as the kettle's boiled, you can put it in, and it won't tarnish the tea. But if you're looking at green tea, for instance, on the other
the word is scald, It won't scald the tea.
It won't scald the tea.
Oh, I should have just sat up there.
If you're looking at a green tea, for instance, those need to be poured at 70 degrees centigrade. And that means that you need to leave the kettle after it's boiled to cool down. And boiled water cools down at 5 degrees per minute. So you would need to leave it and calculate it. I'm just trying to think now.
I've never.
We're not good with maths.
6 minutes or so that you need to leave it before you pour it.
Leigh-Ann, have you seen those fancy kettles that actually have, you can set the kettle to boil at a particular temperature?
Ooh, no.
This is what, super tea. Yeah. You get these real tea fanatics who they actually have different, you can get it to go to 80 degrees and no hotter, 90 degrees, 100 degrees, or even like gradations.
That would freak me out because you want it to reach 100 to kill all the germs, but then let it cool. But you technically can't boil at 70 degrees.
But you're not killing all the germs. I mean, I drink tap water in Johannesburg. We've got very good tap water. Pretoria as well. We've got some of the best tap water in the world. So you're not killing any germs. That's not why you boil it. You boil it because you like it hot. Eleutheria says, "Oh yes, those little pots are perfect for one person." I think she's insinuating that you're alone, but she likes the pot.
Just me and my cats and my tea.
But she also says that her mother only drinks something called Teckleys tea, which I know my parents like too.
I know those as well. Also, tea bags. I think they've got like a blue and white checkered tablecloth as they have. I've seen the comment.
Come on, Carl.
Carl DeSantis says, Leigh-Ann, are you saying you've never been teabagged?
Well, Carl, as a matter of fact, I have.
Gareth says, I was once told that the Queen would burn me at the stake if she saw my tea, so now I stick to coffee. I much prefer tea to coffee.
There's something to be said. I don't drink it myself, but I know people who do. Is a good cup of Baldness tea, which is a tea bag. Yeah, it's an English thing. Okay. So it's a tea bag with strong tea and then a decent amount of milk and then lots of sugar.
Well, Carl, who was making horrible comments about you and teabagging just now, has a valuable point here to make about the boiling point of water. Because of the altitude in Johannesburg, the boiling point isn't 100 degrees anyway. It's only 97 degrees. Jesus. Go to sea level if you want to boil at 100 degrees. Well, you might notice if you have gone to the coast, and you'll notice it takes the kettle a little bit longer to boil if you fill it at the same. Yeah, so that makes perfect sense. Carl's absolutely right.
Or anything like eggs or pasta water. Yeah.
All right, so there we go. We've just done like the old people's half hour because now we're old and we talk about tea. And Sia was like trying his best to stay awake for the 20 minutes that we've been talking.
But that was brought to you by Rosemary Hills.
Yeah, this portion of the radio show this morning was brought to you by the Savannah Retirement Flats, available now. All you have to do to secure your place is tell us how very old you are and make sure you leave a few gray hairs on the outside of the envelope so that we know that you're not making it up. Also, if you have only 3 months to live, you only have 3 months to pay, so book now.
Bonus.
I'm sorry, I could talk about tea. Listen, there's a huge debate going on anytime you sit two tea drinkers down together, and I'm sick of the coffee people getting all the attention, frankly, because coffee people they're even more.
It's so obnoxious. The sound that those machines make in restaurants that you cannot even hear yourself.
Yes.
I feel for the coffee culture like you do about cyclists, Gareth.
Yes.
There's so much time put into it. It's ridiculous.
You guys.
See, we've got our things. You've got to realize, like you hang out with two very, very old people at least twice a week.
I'm gathering that very much so. So what? How did you
just imagine how much worse Leigh-Ann and I are going to be in like another 5 years. This is why we've got to quit soon, because I think we'll be so old and irritating so soon. I mean, for many people, we probably already are. Vinnie Lingham, who's listening to us from Silicon Valley this morning, the famous Vinnie Lingham, says, you guys should drink bulletproof coffee. See, those guys out in the west coast of America, and I think he's in San Diego now. But Vinny, you guys are way ahead of the rest of us. I remember Joe Rogan talks about this bulletproof coffee. Isn't it where you drop like a block of butter into your coffee? Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Couldn't do it, hey? I could not
do it. It's also a keto thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's Robert just picking up like Vinny's hanging out in the comments. Yeah. So there's someone who does have bulletproof coffee here. Tanya says, just very important, an update. Remember that time that Sia shat his pants? Very That's very good. Very important. Vinny says you've got to use grass-fed butter or some good MCT oils if you want to do a bulletproof coffee properly. So there we go. I don't know. I mean, I must maybe try it one day, but I'm going to have someone who really knows what they're doing to show me how to make one. Because if I screw it up and I make a bad version, then I'm going to not only hate it, but I'm going to hate it in perpetuity, you know. So Oxy Head, or whatever, how do you pronounce it? Whatever, says there is nothing as good as a strong coffee and a bit of a joint on a crisp morning. Ugh, smoking first thing in the morning. Not for me, hey?
I like Wendy's comment beneath.
Wendy says the cyclists love their coffee, of course, sipping gently in their tight lycra outfits. Yeah, there's like a combination. There's a combination of all the things Leigh-Ann and I hate separately and together. It's just great. See, you'll notice Sia's actually left the conversation because he was so horrified. No, he'll be back now. He's just sorting some stuff out. You know, he's also the producer of the show. He's like a multitasker in every sense of the word. There's an interesting one. Anushka says she has a colleague who drinks her coffee with a spoon of coconut oil.
I can imagine that being quite nice.
Yes. Coconut oil is being used all over. I see they're selling it in droves now at all the fancy shops. Of course. People aren't using the old, you know, because I've noticed like almond milk, coconut oil, those kinds of things are really taking off. People are gaga over that stuff. I must be honest with you. Like I tried almond milk for the first time in my coffee a while ago, and it's okay. I mean, it's not bad. Like it didn't put me off. It didn't exactly like make the world a difference, but I suppose some people will tell you it's much healthier.
That's showing no respect to the people who have milked the teats of an almond nut, Gareth.
Do you know how hard that must be? First of all, you got to find them, and almonds are so small. Can you imagine how small their nipples are? Just unbelievable. Jesus. All right. A couple of things we've got to get to this morning, and I don't know if we'll finish all of these, but apparently United Airlines in the United States has said that it's more important for them to hire based on diversity than it is to hire on merit. So they want to have 50% of their flight crew, not their onboard crew, but their flight crew, the actual captains and first officers. They want 50% of them to be women, and they obviously think this is a great idea. I'm not so sure, not because I don't doubt that women can do this. I mean, there are women pilots, and I've flown many flights where I've heard the woman pilot come on the intercom and say, "Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm captain, whatever." And I think it's great. But it's interesting that, you know, flights in general are the safest way to travel. The number of actual disasters from airplanes is so unbelievably small. You know, you're more likely to die in 1,000 other ways before you'll die in a plane accident. And I just don't think we must mess with that system by trying to impose some artificial crap on it. I don't care if the pilot's a woman or a man, and I don't care if it's a person of color. I'm really not interested in that stuff. Just don't. For me, merit is really important when you're flying in an aluminium tube at 30,000 feet. Just make sure that people
so basically, by virtue of their own statement, they're saying if they were faced with two applicants, one being a woman who was semi-competent at flying and one being a male who was very competent, they would choose the woman.
That's it. Well, that's it.
And that's just not
So either they're saying that, or they're saying that up to now they've been actively discriminating against women. You know, they've got to decide.
Yes.
Because those are the only two possible options here. And if that's the case, I think they're going to have to do some damage control. Listen, I don't care how woke my airline is. In fact, the less woke my airline is, the happier I'll be. So can we just have the best pilots? I don't give a shit whether they are like trans, lesbian, mixed race women with four fingers in each hand rather than five. But if they're the best, that's all I care about. I don't want to know. Their identity is completely unimportant to me. Really. Can United Airlines just drop this nonsense straight away? And all this crap around quotas, it's very bad. It's just generally, if you want merit, and I understand like in some places it matters because people want to see representation. I get that. And it shouldn't be as controversial as it is, but obviously everything in the world at the moment is controversial. If I'm flying in a plane, just give me the best pilots. If I'm being operated on by a doctor, just give me the best doctors. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I really don't. And I don't care if it's a person of color or a white person or an Eskimo, if you're allowed to even say that word Eskimo anymore, because I don't know. If it's a Native American, if it's a Chinese doctor, I don't care. It's just that they must be the best. That's all I want. And the minute the politicians...
airlines playing those original Disney movies without the disclaimer in front.
Keep it traditional.
Well, at least in terms of hiring pilots, can we just keep that from also being messed up by the politicians? Because the safety record for flying is incredible. It really is good. And if that's been working up to now, let's keep doing that. That's all I'm going to say.
Caitlyn Jenner can fly planes.
Oh, have you heard? So Caitlyn Jenner can't even drive. Caitlyn Jenner can't even drive a car. Are you joking? Didn't Caitlyn Jenner kill that man?
Hey. Everyone gets into accidents every now and then.
She killed a man.
It was operative term being an accident.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Caitlyn was the dad, hey?
Caitlyn's the used to be Bruce Jenner, yeah. And before anyone gives me any nonsense about like dead naming Caitlyn, I'm not. I say she because to me it really doesn't matter. I have no problem calling her a she. But
no one here has a problem with it. Don't worry.
I know, but still, some people are very, very. I got into trouble because I posted a picture of that Dr. Rachel Levine on Instagram the other day, and a whole lot of people said I was being transphobic because.
Pardon my ignorance.
So Dr. Rachel Levine is this really bad Secretary for Health in Pennsylvania in the United States, and Joe Biden has just appointed her the Assistant Secretary of Health in the federal department, right? So we shouldn't even know who this person is. But we do because while she was the Secretary of Health in Pennsylvania, she sent a whole lot of old people back into nursing homes to die of COVID, which is exactly what Andrew Cuomo is supposedly guilty of in the New York nursing care system. He needlessly basically put these people at risk, these old people who we know were the most vulnerable to COVID, and sent them into an environment where they would spread COVID to other old people, and inevitably many of them would die. So it was a deeply irresponsible thing that both Andrew Cuomo and this Rachel Levine did. Rachel Levine is only known to us for that reason, if you really paid attention to the news, or if you've just glimpsed the news for the fact that she is a transgender woman. In other words, that she was a man who transitioned into a woman, right? Or however you describe it. So I put up this picture that said, oh, great. And by the way, she thinks it's a good idea to chemically castrate children.
Okay.
You know,
that's great thinking.
Yeah. So if she says if a kid feels like they might be transgender, then it's okay for them to get chemical castrations without their parents' permission at a very young age. She's a very strange creature. And I don't mean that with any disrespect to the trans community. It's got nothing to do with the trans community. She's just a ridiculous person. And I got into trouble because I posted this picture of Rachel Levine where I said, oh, great, put someone in charge of health who is obese and thinks she's a woman when she's a man. So, I mean, I was obviously, it's tongue in cheek.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of woke warriors decided to descend on. This is about a week ago, and they decided to climb into me for it. I don't care. Yeah, I've been called everything already. I'm just so over it. Really don't care. Anyway, Caitlyn Jenner, do you know what she's doing now?
What?
What?
She's thinking about running for governor of California.
Well, good for her.
Hey, everybody.
Arnold Schwarzenegger did it.
Sure. Ronald Reagan did it. Why not?
The connotation I have of Caitlyn Jenner right now, and really, since we're living in an age where one does have to put a disclaimer with everything, it's not about her. It's not about her being trans. It's
right.
But Caitlyn Jenner as a person, she now has she has a YouTube channel, and I don't even watch it for entertainment value because at least the Kardashians are an entertainment machine. A show like that is put together and it's put together for entertainment purposes. I watch that channel sometimes cringing at. Just think of that awkwardness of someone 60 plus years old walking around with a camera going, "Hey guys, welcome to my channel." And it is sometimes she misses herself and then she only records like an eye.
Oh
no. She's okay. So
angle.
Let me just I want to dwell on something you said a second ago, because this is so important. If you criticize someone for being a ridiculous person like Rachel Levine or Caitlyn Jenner, you are not saying that transgender people are all ridiculous. It's like if I criticize Sia, if I criticize Sia for his unbelievable interest in skincare products, and I say that that's a ridiculous thing about Sia, I'm certainly not saying that about men. I'm certainly not saying that about Black men. I'm certainly not saying that about Zulu men. I'm certainly not saying that about gay men. I'm saying it about Sia Sangweni, right? So these groups that you belong to do not mean that you are impervious to criticism, and that if someone criticizes you, that they can then be labeled some kind of phobe because you have done stupid stuff, or in the case of Rachel Levine, actually sent people to death. So let's just keep our table tidy here. Let's keep things clean, because otherwise I do believe we will go down a path that we'll just never get out of. I just want to refer back to something Vinny's thrown in here as well. He says Jenner would be a better governor than Newsom, even if she did nothing. Gavin Newsom, the current governor in California, is so unpopular. People are trying to have him removed from office at the moment as we speak.
Imagine being in that position.
There was a petition going around. Yeah, but he was the guy he's the do as I say, not as I do governor, because he was the one who told everybody you can't do any indoor dining. And California is like it's a fun state to live in. I mean, it's managed very badly, but it's a fun place to live. And the people who live in California like to get out and do things, and they're social people. And, Hollywood is there.
It's all about gastronomy and wine.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great restaurants in California, especially out in the Napa Valley and those places. And LA's got some great places. And, San Francisco is well known for being this, cultural capital. So all of those places are very social, very active, very cultural centers. And Gavin Newsom says to the people of California for most of last year, you can't go and eat indoors at a restaurant. So he shuts it down. And people were like going online and outing restaurants that had allowed people to eat inside. And it was really ugly. It was like, Telon, basically. It was all the Karens. And this guy, this governor, had a dinner party, or was invited to a dinner party with about 12 other people. And there was video footage and pictures of all of them sitting inside at a restaurant having a great meal, like some fancy restaurant called the French Laundry. You could look this up. And, here's the guy who's telling you can't do it, but he's doing it. So I just can't take these guys seriously. I'm sorry. It's a ridiculous situation. There's another ridiculous person. Now, just because I'm saying Gavin Newsom is ridiculous doesn't mean that I'm saying every man in California is ridiculous. So I totally understand where Vinny's coming from in terms of like Caitlyn Jenner might make a better governor than him. The other guy who's super. Hey, yo, Bulelani. What's happening, dude? It's so dark there. You look like you're from Senegal. How are you, my bro? It's nice to see you, dude. What's happening?
I'm good. I'm trying to. Yo, my goodness, I'm so dark.
Yeah, what's happening?
I'm good.
It sounds like you've got a whole lot of people around you. What are you in a public place? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in a public place. Connectivity. I had to drive out to the Magan B.
Okay, all right. Well, I hope you're having some tea instead of coffee. We spent like half an hour talking about this. So Bulelani, because there's a whole lot of noise in the background, I don't want to keep you on too long. But I just want to check in with you because I love what you've been doing, and I wanted to find out how lockdown has been affecting the township economy. Just let me mute you while I talk here. Hang on, just let me mute you in the meantime. So I want to find out from you how lockdown has been affecting the township economy. I know you've been very involved for many years. I actually went to Tembisa once or twice with you to do your Township Entrepreneurs Alliance meetings. And there's some amazing entrepreneurial ideas that are coming out of places like Tembisa. And you've really got your finger on the pulse of what's going on in that economy. So how has lockdown affected the townships and particularly entrepreneurs and businesses? And how do you think that's going to recover now that lockdown has come to an end and COVID's starting to dissipate?
Thank you so much yet again for having me. I'll just touch on some of the key findings, right? So we undertook the study with UNISA, in partnership with UNISA, and I think for us it was to sort of unpack data on the township economy, but over and above unpacking the data on the township economy, we wanted to then start to document so that you have policymakers making policies or creating enterprise or supply development programs with the real and raw data. And some of the data, some of the key findings, about 77% of township and rural entrepreneurs in the formal and informal sector had no source of income during the lockdown. This then, which then led to.
Oh shit! I think we're gonna have to try again.
We lost him.
Yeah, I'm gonna take him off there because it's very noisy. First of all, and second of all, I don't think the signal's actually that great. Really, Mug and Bean, you might make good coffee and tea, but can you get your internet working properly for Bulelani? For heaven's sake!
Oh,
it's that whole obnoxious coffee thing. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Leigh-Ann, get it off your chest. What else? You were talking about the sound. Now I feel like everything that coffee people are into or do will be something horrible in your opinion. Even just an innocent little coffee art thing probably annoys you.
Before we allow that, I just want to quickly, because I do feel like what we want to talk to Bulelani about is kind of important, and I know that his connection isn't great, but I want to try one more time. This is a really interesting survey, right? It's all about business activity in the townships. And they're trying to understand the experiences of people who have been dealing with some really strange obstacles, positive or negative. An obstacle by definition is negative, but there have also been some potential advantages or opportunities that have come out of this. And we've got to think about the socioeconomic impact of what all of this has meant to the townships, because they estimate that the townships are responsible for billions and billions of rands of trade and economic activity. And there are people in the townships who are, they deal in the cash economy, so we don't always have that much information about it. I think this is such a great study. So Bulelani did this, just as he's already mentioned, with UNISA. And I do want to see if we can cross back to him and just see, hey, Bulelani, that's much better.
Yeah, no, yeah.
we can see and hear you perfectly now. So okay, so you were about to tell me you're going to tell me about some of the findings from the study. Go ahead.
Yeah, perfect. So I think one of the findings was 77% of these township and rural entrepreneurs had no source of income, which meant that whatever they were making pre the lockdown, which was above 10,000 Rand, had now dropped to below 5,000. I mean, over and above that, we then asked them a question in and around the relief scheme.
And he's gone again. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Wow.
I hear that song, you know, oh no, oh no,
Oh, no.
oh no, 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 the one that's in the memes. So sorry,
Yes.
all right, we're going to try again with him at some other time. Here's what I've got on the findings. The entrepreneurs were severely impacted by the lockdown. More than half of them couldn't operate. A very small percentage said they continued their operations from home since and during the lockdown. These entrepreneurs that do live in the townships are either owners or they are renting dwellings within the townships. Many have responsibilities of extended family members from 3 to 6 people in their households. So they're not just responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
And the types of enterprises span across many business categories. Most traded in the services industries. Transportation's also big. Tourism and the retail industry are big parts of that. The liquor business accounted for the smallest percentage of business in the townships.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Under half of these enterprises operated for 3 years, and a fifth of them were nascent, in other words, brand new enterprises. They reported their average income changed drastically. 77% of them had an average income ranging above 5,000 Rand to 10,000 Rand a month before lockdown. And then after the national lockdown, they reported that their average income dropped below 5,000 Rand a month, which is obviously half at best bets. That's really, really devastating.
Mm.
And just finally, the statistics showed that most of the entrepreneurs felt that there should be a more coordinated central point or body to address these businesses and to access relief funds for township businesses. More than half of the entrepreneurs felt left to defend themselves in a situation where they felt predated upon by the economy at large and by the lockdowns and the rules of lockdowns. They felt their enterprises couldn't look after themselves or access relief. Many entrepreneurs are not optimistic about the government's relief intervention to assist. So a really interesting survey. I mean, I've just given you the top line stuff here, but I'm sorry that Bulelani couldn't join us. It's good to see
it's
him.
so important. There are not a lot of companies or data-based companies that are doing this kind of research. So it's really important.
I just think it's so funny that we were talking about tea, as in drinking tea, and then Bulelani's business is called the Township Entrepreneurs Alliance, which is tea, and and his events are actually called, teas. So it's really funny. So you see, everything's linked. Everything's meant to be. It's all.
It's yeah. What
Synchronicity.
serendipity,
synchronicity. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't bite your tongue. Jeez.
Yeah, see, are you still keeping lists of the new words that you learn and using them in social situations every week?
Yeah, every now and then. The ones that really make an impact on me. Let me whip it out.
What have you got?
Oof. Excuse me, Leigh-Ann.
You whipping it out?
Yes. I'm
it almost
whipping my list out.
It almost sounded like you were hissing there, Leigh-Ann.
Whipping it out.
I still like a plump.
Oh, with much aplomb.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a good word.
Self-confidence or assurance.
Mm-hmm.
I still like coterie, a small group of people with shared interests or tastes.
Mm-hmm.
Pugnacious, a nerd, alacrity.
Alacrity, yeah, that's a good one.
And cheerful readiness. There's just some that I still haven't been able to apply it every day as much as I'd like to, though.
Well, I mean, while you're busy, I've also got lists, remember. I keep that list of really terrible Afrikaans names.
Yes, you do.
So I've got to give you an update on that one quickly, because I added a few names to that. So while Sia keeps really useful words, I keep really ridiculous names. So I found this one's a good one, Truella. Truella, Truella.
Kind of like Cruella with some odd twist.
That's it.
Yeah.
La Roselle, spelled Larozelle. La Roselle is another good Afrikaans name. There's beautiful. And here's a good one. Danko, Danco, for a man.
Oh, it's quite a strong name. I like it.
Oh, you do, huh? Glad you do. Okay. To each his own.
It sounds like you're saying donkey, but in a posh way.
No.
Danko for the coffee.
Look who's here. Look who's here, everybody. It is George Meany. Hello, George. How's it going?
Good on you.
Good.
What are those cars and motorbikes going down the bottom of the screen?
That's
All
right.
of the things.
George Meany, and then it's got little cars and motorbikes and trucks.
That's so cool.
There's even a racing car there.
And a scooter.
And a scooter, of course. Because you guys, you do
detail here.
You do have scooters and bikes on Auto Trader, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're the biggest bike portal in South Africa. So
very nice. So George, let me just start off by telling you, I was at a family lunch on Sunday, and one of the family was saying to me he is going on a bike ride through Namibia with like there are 8 of them, but they're doing it really well. So they're sending the bikes up ahead of them on a trailer, and then when they get there, they're going to fly in. Then they're going to ride their bikes for, I think it's 8 days, all over Namibia. They're going to go to all these really beautiful places, and they've planned it. It's really well executed. These are not amateurs. They know what they're doing. So they've got a support vehicle that's going to be there in case something goes wrong with one of their tires or something mechanical.
They lose their balance, support vehicle.
Yes, of course, Leigh-Ann, because Leigh-Ann, you hold on to it. That's why it's called a support vehicle or whatever they call those vehicles. Anyway, he's doing this, and he didn't actually have a bike, so he decided. I think this is so cool. He's probably in his mid to late 50s, and he just decided he's going to join these other guys who are friends of his, and they're going to do this bike ride. So he went and bought a bike. I mean, that's pretty cool, right?
That's pretty cool. When I was 20.
Oh, hang on.
And a friend of mine and I, we had this dream to ride an off-road on-road bike. Like you get those big off-road bikes from Johannesburg all the way up to London. I mean, we never did it. It was a childhood dream, but some people have done it. And doing an 8-day trip through Namibia, I remember it's desert.
Well, apparently the longest road that you can travel in the world, the longest journey by road, would be from Cape Town to the Kamchatka Peninsula in Asia. And wow. You can actually do that without ever having to get on a ferry or put your bike or car on a boat. You could do that as the longest road trip available to humans on planet Earth. That's pretty cool.
I would have thought it would have been from the tip of South America to Canada.
Nah, but you see, you have the Panama Canal. Makes it a little bit difficult.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose you're not on a road there. You have to go across water.
And God help you, because in South America you've either got to go along the Andes or through the Amazon, both of which are hardly the most hospitable places.
Well, I mean, in Africa, you got to go through, places like the Congo, or in the current situation, if you decide to go around Mozambique.
Very dangerous.
Some trouble.
Yeah. Good point. You know what? Let's just stay here and let's just keep it to South Africa. All right. So, what have you got on your agenda for this morning?
Well, Gareth, traffic cops will soon wear body cameras to help thwart bribes. So as part of the Road Traffic Management Corporation, over the next 3 to 5 years, body cameras will be instituted to help improve conviction rates and people violating traffic laws, as well as combat corruption and bribes. So you won't be able to buy a cold drink and a packet of chips because you'll be recorded.
But I mean,
I feel sad about that. I think we're losing part of our culture.
It's the cops who initiate the bribes in most cases. So what are they? They're just going to turn their cameras off.
I think there's two sides to that story, Leigh-Ann. Because the cops probably are corrupt in many instances, I don't think South Africans are too scared to offer a bribe.
Yeah.
No, sure. I mean, it's a two-way street.
But
I've never offered a bribe, but I've been offered bribes before by cops.
Well, do we know anything about the quality of the camera and the angle of the camera? Because I watched some of those viral videos and those shows, and I think there's nothing more off-putting than that grainy gray image. Like, if at least you got to wear that body camera, at least let it be like from a particular angle on your forehead, not just on your chest. And I have 3 chins. And
the cops are going to have beauty rings around their cameras as well to put you in the best light.
This is not keeping up with the Kardashians. This is a police body cam. I mean, really all they need to do is see what's going on. And George, does this mean the end of bribes?
I mean, I doubt it, honestly. The criminals will be criminals, and I mean, look at the mob in America, like organized crime. I think it'll help slow it down, stop it, reduce it, and if the government is serious, if the law enforcement is serious about rooting out corruption, then it will probably lessen the corruption. But human beings are resilient, both economically and criminally.
Jeez, you'll now have to hide the KFC that you're going to give to the Metro policeman. You'll have to make sure that the camera's pointed up at the sky, and then you can pass the KFC down at like waist level.
Yeah.
Well, there's already ways around it, but I think it's a good thing. All in all, it's a good thing. Where I live, the security guys are mandated to wear body cameras, and as soon as they begin engaging in a problem, they have to hit record on those body cameras. I'd be interested to know whether the policeman has the ability to turn the camera on or off.
Well, they must have. I mean, if you keep it going the whole time, there's going to be hours and hours of meaningless, pointless footage.
Exactly. So
I'm sure they don't have to. I'm sure they don't have to keep the camera on when they go for a pee or they go to wash their hands or whatever. So they must be able to switch it on and off. I mean, Monica says this is such a good point. Corruption will stop when it stops from the top, and I think that's such a good idea. Here's another thing she says, that basically if only government officials would wear cameras to prevent bribes and stop corruption. Imagine if every tender meeting was filmed. That would be much better than worrying about the small fry cops.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't it a good idea to create transparency in those meetings, allow the press to attend? That would create some transparency and stop people from taking backhands.
Right. Okay.
The rise of petrol. I'm sure you've heard all about this week. Nearly R1 per litre fuel price has risen. There's been a rise in government tax. Now, between the government tax and the road accident fund, just over 50% of every litre of fuel, the 16 or 17 Rand that we're paying, goes to government tax or levy.
It's outrageous.
I mean, my opinion on this is we've got two challenges here. One, the fuel price is regulated. Two, the tax is so high. Will the government ever reduce the tax on fuel? I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think so. They're too reliant on it. I mean, there are millions and millions of liters of fuel that is pumped every single day, and the amount of money that the government is making. The other challenge is that this money that comes from the tax on the fuel goes into a big pot. It doesn't get allocated somewhere. It goes into just the tax abyss.
General tax pot. Yeah, I mean, there used to be a time where they would use a fuel levy to do the road infrastructure or to pay the road accident fund. And now, the road accident fund is just an absolute unmitigated disaster from beginning to end. And as for our roads, you don't have to ask a lot of people, but there are some roads that are so full of potholes at the moment in cities. I'm not talking about rural roads that haven't been maintained in 10 years. I'm talking about major roads inside of cities where you could. I was driving the other day, and there was a pothole so big that it would swallow the whole tire off a major 4x4 vehicle, and nobody's repairing that stuff. So I don't buy the argument that this is about maintaining road infrastructure or the road accident fund or any of that stuff. It is purely a way to make poor people poorer, and they are the ones inevitably who feel this the most, because if you have to catch 3 or 4 taxis to get to your job every morning as a domestic worker, or if you are, working in some firm in Sandton and you live in Soweto, you don't just get one taxi, and it doesn't cost the flat rate. When the taxi bosses and taxi owners see the petrol price going up, they have to put up their price as well. So
it ends up at the consumer at the end of the day.
So who bears that cost is someone at the bottom end of the chain who needs to get from A to B because they don't have their own vehicle. Those people get stung the hardest. Those people who drive, expensive cars, so it's gonna cost them more to fill their car up, but they'll be okay. The poor people are not going to be okay. They're already paying, in some cases, more than half of their salary goes to paying fuel. Now, you're telling me that or transport, let's not say fuel, if someone is paying half of their salary, if you're earning $5,000 a month, and it costs you $2,500 just to get to and from work every month, which is not unreasonable, right? Depending on how far you are from work. And you're telling me that of that $2,500, half of it, so let's call it 1,200, 1,250, half of it goes straight to government as a tax. That means for a poor person earning 5,000 Rand a month, they may not be taxed in income tax, but they are paying almost a fifth. In fact, it's more than a fifth of their total salary straight to government in tax because of fuel. That's not fair. That does not sound right to me.
So the sliding tax scale of lower earners are swallowed up by a tax on fuel, effectively.
20%. 20% of a person who earns 5,000 Rand and spends half their salary on transport, 20% of that goes straight to the government. That is not helping the poor, ANC. Sorry, it's not helping the poor at all.
So this is, on a positive note, which doesn't negate what you just said, Gareth, at all. On a positive note, though, we are not the most expensive fuel cost in the world, but on the lower end of the scale, as you put it, the amount of money that the poorer people pay in relation to their income is incredibly high. But on average, we're not the most expensive country in the world when it comes to fuel. I think there are other underlying challenges that, besides the tax on fuel, that make our economy a difficult place to be.
Yeah. All right. Well, we bitched about that for this morning, but then that's a good thing to bitch about because it does hit everybody. It just hits some people much, much harder than the rest of us. What else is there in the news?
Well, legalizing cannabis has made roads more dangerous, an American study has found. So the author of the study discussed the implications for Canada in the analysis published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal. And the analysis of the data suggests that the legalization of recreational cannabis in the United States in certain jurisdictions may be associated with a small but significant increase in fatal motor vehicle collisions and fatalities. I mean, it goes without saying, you're going to smoke weed and drive. Same as drinking and driving, it's going to end badly. So what is the answer? Clamp down on alcohol and cannabis? Or, the police ability of this stuff is hard.
So, George, I don't want to be stupid here, but I really am because I'm very naive on this. But have they done research? Have they done enough objective scientific exploration of what the effects of smoking weed as opposed to driving drunk might be on a driver?
No, I haven't seen anything. I mean, it might be out there, but I haven't seen anything. But, smoking weed, driving drunk, for me, it's all the same. You're not in control of your faculties, 100%.
That sounds very messy. I'm just confused because to my mind, like the two would be more or less the same, but we haven't ever done any quantitative research on this, which would be strange. I'm sure there must be some survey somewhere. I mean, it stands to reason, like I've been around stoners before, and I've been around people who I wouldn't describe as stoners, but who recreationally smoke weed. And some of them handle it better than others. So maybe there's a differentiation between the kinds of users and maybe the kinds of weed even. But to have not done any research on this when drinking and driving is such a big issue, and to pretend that it isn't a big issue with drugs of any kind, it just seems to me like really obviously stupid and ignorant.
Well, over the years that we've known each other, you've raised a couple of times what is as bad as drinking and driving, and maybe cannabis and driving, is being tired and driving, which could be worse.
Absolutely.
You reach a stage when you're tired that your brain will just literally switch off.
When I was driving every day to and from Auckland Park to home, it was a long drive. And sometimes, if I'd spent the entire day in town and I'd woken up extra early to do the show and then been in meetings all day, I was pretty exhausted. And I remember driving home, and you have those moments where you kind of fall asleep very briefly at the wheel. Jeez, it's terrifying, right? Terrifying. It's easily, when I think back now on how you just push through and you hope that you don't have it happen too often. But I'm telling you, often people must drive off the road or smash into other people just because they're exhausted and tired. And no one's checking you on the side of the road and, doing a blood test or a breathalyzer to say, oh, you're so tired, so you shouldn't be driving. It's just as dangerous.
Yeah.
It's just as dangerous. Exactly. So, just, if you're going to operate a vehicle, just don't drive. Don't put yourself in danger.
If you're going to operate a vehicle, don't drive.
Yeah, wait.
Sorry, if you're going to be tired,
I knew what he meant. I knew what he meant.
George, are you tired? Do you need to have a bit of a nap?
I think you need to pull over, George.
Yeah, time for a little doo-doos.
Time for a little doo-doo, yes. So, and then very finally...
sorry, I thought my brain was having like a spasm there. I'm like, wait, I didn't hear correctly.
They're not letting you have a break on this one, George. They're really piling on Sia and Leigh-Ann. It's amazing. Right. They can say stupid things for 3 hours every day, and no one's climbing into them. But you say one sentence that is incoherent, and they climb into you like they can't.
Leigh-Ann, are you and I ever stupid? Never.
Never.
Got it. I'll pass on your message about the body cams. Yeah.
Thank you.
What was the last thing you wanted to say, George?
So very finally, and on a positive, to end on a positive note, I've been saying for months that new vehicle sales, retail sales, being under pressure and declining as a result of lockdown in the last year is a bad thing for our economy, because selling new cars is a feeder into used car retail, and if we don't stimulate new car retail sales, we could see rising prices for used cars, which isn't good for anybody. So for the first time in a year, new car sales is in positive territory for March, which is a good thing. So I think that's
awesome news.
It's awesome news. I mean, although to be fair, you've got to juxtapose that against the fact that last year, this time, we had just entered lockdown. So the end of March saw a massive fall off in new car sales. But if you compare February this year to March this year, we're in positive territory. So that's a really, really good sign. And I'm hoping that continues.
Yeah, well, let's all hold thumbs, because it's usually a barometer for the rest of the economy. George, just quickly before you go, Carl is on your side. He says Sia and Leigh-Ann are horrible people. Leave George alone. See?
Love you, Carl. Absolutely love you.
All right, everybody. Have a happy weekend. We will see you on Monday, bright and early, 6 o'clock. Don't miss it. Have a nice weekend. Bye.